Have you heard recently? The worst gun control bill ever written is up in the House. And it's the end of the Second Amendment, and also the sky is falling. If there's one bill that you're going to write your representatives over, should it be this one? Let's talk about it.
While the host of Fuddbusters is a lawyer, he is not your lawyer. If you pay him, maybe, either way you slice it, the video that you are about to watch is not to be construed as legal advice.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Fuddbusters, where we work to correct myths and misinformation in the two-way world. I'm your host, MacLeod. I'm a gun rights lawyer, and I want to talk about the latest thing causing panic in our community, HR127. Make no mistake, we are likely at one of the most critical points in the fight for our civil rights. But that's why we've got to think strategically. So let's get into it. You probably heard about this bill. I know I saw half a dozen colorful thumbnails about it just this morning. People are screaming from the rooftops about it. But what would it do? And what would have to happen for it to pass? I'll not get too deep into the bill. I'm sure you guys have heard about it 100 times from 100 voices. But let me skate over it real quick just for the sake of completeness. HR 127, also known as the Sabika Sheikh Firearm Licensing and Registration Act, is named for a young lady who was tragically killed in the 2018 Santa Fe high school shooting. The bill would, do a whole lot of things. It would establish a national database to publicly dox more or less every gun owner in the country, render it a felony to own guns or ammo without a license, and psychiatric evaluation, ban mags over 10 rounds, ban ammo 50 caliber or larger, require a special license for military-style weapons, and more. All in all, the law is a preposterous anti-human rights proposition, turning the right to keep and bear arms into a privilege just for those with more than average money and time. All this despite, of course, the fact that those who are most likely to be violently victimized, and thus who most likely need a gun for self-defense, are the working poor. We all know this bill is a Category 3 fever nightmare, but should this one be what we're pouring all of our resources, including the precious resource of our time and attention? Let's look a little deeper. To begin with, have you heard of a bill called HR 4081? Made a bit of a splash in the last Congress, but there's a high chance you haven't heard of it. Well, it was set to completely tear the Second Amendment asunder. It would make it so that the working poor couldn't ever get into gun ownership and make bearing arms entirely a privilege rather than a right. You'd think in a Congress even more hostile than the present one, it must have gone pretty far, right? It picked up a whopping 0 co-sponsors and died in committee. What was the name of that bill? Why, the Sabika Sheikh Firearms Licensing and Registration Act, of course. That's right, this isn't the first time Representative Lee has brought this bill. It's a long-shot bill and is widely regarded as such. Yes, the Senate composition has changed, as has the presidency, but there's a lot at play here. As of right now, February 7th, 2021, the bill is sitting in the House Judiciary Committee with just about 200 other bills. This session is going to be a critical one for House Democrats, as traditionally the president's party loses seats in the midterm elections, so they're going to want to ram through as many laws as possible. Something as egregious as this bill would take loads of time just to get through committee debates and markups. Then, remember, it has to go to the Senate, where it begins the process all over again. Then, whatever version gets through would have to get past an inevitable filibuster, something that it doesn't look like they have the rights to eliminate. Now, if you're a gun controller, tactically speaking, a bill this horrible doesn't make sense. It would hog up time. Eager politicians will be jealously guarding, trying to ram through a host of other bills, including what seem like more minor forms of gun control. Now, I'm not saying this is some kind of grand scheme, but this is how I'm thinking about 127. Have you ever been to a magic show? If so, what did you notice about the magician's assistant? That's right. She's usually rich in natural resources and wearing some kind of very shiny outfit, possibly with sequins. This keeps your eyes away from the sweaty man shuffling cards just to her left. My fear is that if we focus too much attention on beating this nightmare bill with 0 co-sponsors, and it then ultimately fails, we may be celebrating amidst the passage of a universal background check, compulsory storage laws, or a federal red flag law program. I'm not telling you not to voice your opposition to this bill, and I'm not saying it can't move. Far from it. All I'm saying is that it's a long shot, and there are other bills that are both more pernicious and more likely to pass. Also, put yourself in the position of one of those fence-sitting politicians. Imagine you get thousands of emails telling you to oppose Bill A, but only a couple hundred to oppose Bill B. It might signal to you that the second bill is some kind of compromise position. Even those representatives know there are many millions of brand new gun owners as a result of current world events. They don't want to obliterate that voter base. You also have to remember a couple things about public perception. If all of the pomp, circumstance, and screaming happens right now, when the bill has virtually 0 chance of passing, how is that going to make us seem should the committee actually take it up and water it down? There are multiple factors at play here. For one, there's outrage fatigue. We can only stay so pissed off for so long. This type of prolonged frenzy will burn us out. Second, there's that whole story about the wolf boy, the crying one who cried too much. If we made all the noise now for the version that was dead in the water, then they come around with a watered down version and we shout all again, it could lessen the impact of our collective shriek. But that's all me thinking aloud. Just try to think strategically. If you wrote anyone about 127, you might want to think about writing them about HR125, 130, and 167, to name a few. Make no mistake, guys, I'll stress it again. This is likely the most critical time in the fight for the Second Amendment since the 1930s. We got to keep our heads cool and play to win. So that's all I've got. Fight hard, but enjoy your lives and try not to panic too much. There will be a point where we all need to be on the up, and we need to be ready for it. I also just want to say I really appreciate you guys watching and subscribing. It makes a huge difference. If you want to support more than that, I just started up a Patreon and Subscribestar. I've added benefits like a patron-only podcast, a Discord, and surely more to come. This kind of support will help enable me to make more content more regularly, something I'd really love to be able to do. There's also a link to the Fuddbusters sticker in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching to the end and for your support. I'll see you next time, or if you join our Patreon or Subscribestar, I'll see you on the Discord. Either way, I'll see you all real soon. Remember, the anti-side has been working long and hard passing laws and trying to make more. Anything more than minimum compliance is self-regulation. Y'all take care.
Thank you.